All right, everybody, welcome. Good to see you all. Welcome to this Learn to Play special episode here on Atomic Game Theory. I wanted to talk today about the Fantasy Age RPG. I keep saying Age RPG, and that's like saying game, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But this game is one of my favorite games that I've gotten to play. It's an excellent system, and I was talking to someone about it recently, and they kept asking me why. What is it about this system that makes me really like it? And so I thought I would take this opportunity to kind of run through the game, talk about how it works, get you excited about playing it, and then, then we'll all play games together online, which is perfect. My name is Richard. I am, a person who likes games a whole lot. I'm a game designer. I'm a puzzle designer. I also am a game theorist and analyst, and I write about games a whole lot on atomicgametheory.com. You can check me out on Twitter or whatever else. Thank you so much for being here. I can see there's already quite a few folks in the chat watching this. I'm excited. Thank you all for being here. Hope the sound is right. Let me know if it's not. We'll make all that stuff happen if we need to. What I want to do is talk about Fantasy Age, talk about why this game is special, why it is interesting and amazing, and a little bit how it's different from some of the systems you might be a little bit more familiar with, and also how it's similar. So this is definitely not a game that should make you afraid or worried about learning a new system. It's really good, it's intuitive, it's fantastic, and most of all, it has the stunt system, and I don't even know how excited I can get about the stunt system. Fantasy Age is the game for you. If you want a game with cinematic, active actions, combat, explorations, role-playing, if you want the ability to roll the dice and then stuff happens, it's fantastic. I'm going to take this and break it down into like three main pieces, I think, today. I want to focus on character creation for a little bit, just to make sure that you understand the biggest concepts for you as a player getting into it. And then, of course, I want to talk about the big main mechanic. And then finally, we're going to talk about stunts for quite a while, because I love stunts. They make this game a lot of fun. I will be checking in here. Thank you for letting me know that the sound is good in the chat, and I will be taking questions as we go through, especially kind of at the end of some of the bigger chunks, because I want to make sure that everyone gets as much information as they can, and I want you to all to be able to play at the end of this hour. If you just want to make a game happen in the chat right now, I mean, just start talking, I suppose. Yes, the Age system began, the first time I saw it was the Dragon Age RPG. And since then, I gotta get my timeline down. We have Titan's Grave, which was the Will Wheaton show on Geek and Sundry. Then we also had Fantasy Age. We also have Modern Age. Age is just fantastic. It is the adventure game engine. And which is why it's really weird to say adventure game engine role-playing game, but we'll work it out. We'll figure it out. But I love Fantasy Age. It's so good. It is a core module, and you can kind of take these ideas and you can break them up into all sorts of different, you can, your whatever homebrew world that you want or anything else. This is kind of like the classic micro engine that you need to make any story that you want really run. Dragon Age was fantastic. I loved it. That was such a good introduction. One of my favorite characters to play is still began in Dragon Age, and I have ported that character to so many different games just because it's fun. What makes this game good? Let's get into it. I could just talk about how much I love this game forever, but I want to get into what makes this game really good. First of all, it is, if you take a look at like D&D overall, like not just 5th edition, but going back in time, Fantasy Age hits a slightly different, I would say, position than 5th ed does at the moment. It has a lot of ability for this tactical nature. It's got some randomness built in. It's got all sorts of stuff. And to kind of show you what I mean there, let's focus on the basic idea of this game. First of all, to play this game, you only need 3 d6s. That is it. That is all you need. These are my Dragon Age d6s right here. Tons of fun. And that's it. If you have these, you can do every single mechanism in the game. You do not need a whole set of polyhedrals or anything else. And one of the things that I, as a mathematician, really like about lots of d6s is that we go from this d20 where there's, you're just as likely to roll a 17 as a 5 or a 10 or a 20 or anything else. You get to this like curve, this bell curve, where you are going to very often hit this like 10, 11 range in the middle. Seeing an 18 or seeing a 3, those are both very rare instances, so we won't see them anywhere near as often. When they come up, they're still remarkable, but generally you're going to hit kind of in this average zone, which means that you and your stat bonuses, your skill choices, All of those things are so useful in this game, and they're what take you over kind of the edge to get to success. D&D sometimes feels a little bit more random. Gosh, give me a game with some heavy D6s, and I am all in. That's getting more into the basic mechanism, and I already said stunts. Oh my gosh, they're so hard. I can't do stunts first. I got to do character creation first. Here we go. Let's jump into it. Let's just get started. Boom. Like I said, I got over here at the bottom kind of my rundown for what I want to talk about today, but I want to start with characters because this game is incredible in how it approaches characters. There are, for example, there's only 3 character classes. If you've played the Dragon Age the Dragon Age video game, there's only 3 classes. There's tons of variability within those classes, and this game is all about that. It's all about starting with a core and then like this endless branching out to new ideas, which is fun and wonderful. Sometimes it goes places you don't expect, but it allows you to build as the game progresses. This is the kind of role-playing game that I would love to play a full campaign and watch people change so dramatically as you bust all the way up to like 10th, 11th, 20th level. But let's start here with our characters. I'm going to just be scrolling through this PDF as we're talking about this. I'm going to move around, jump around in different spots. If you have the PDF, of course, you can get it for free right now at Green Ronin Games because they want everyone to play this game. You should go play this game. Go get it. And right here on page 8, I suppose, let's get started with character creation. There are a ton of things that you could do to create your characters, and if you're used to 5th ed D&D, you already know how character creation works, right? In that game, you come up with exactly what you want to play, and then you play it, right? I don't know the last time I've rolled stats for D&D. Usually I use like the stat array in the book. If I think that what I want to do is play a half-elven warlock, I do it. I just go for it. That's what I play, and it's done. In the Fantasy Age game, there are some dynamics. There are some things going on. And this is a throwback to an older age, 2nd edition. If you ever played 2nd edition D&D, you chose to play the game, and then you were basically a blob of protoplasm. You were a character, and you said, yes, I will play whatever this character becomes. And you roll your stats, and in that game, you would just roll 6 times to get your character stats, and that was the order they were in, and then you would see what you could be, right? It was this very early idea in D&D that had to do with like replaceable characters and quick play and lots of character depth and stuff like that. So you could play, if you wanted to be a paladin, I remember you had to have a 17 charisma, which is hard to roll on 3d6, so I never played a paladin. I did get lucky enough to play a ranger, because I think that needed like a 13 strength and dex, and then a 14 in con and wisdom, and it was still hard to do. And D&D has moved away from that. Now you can play whatever you want, so you make party balance, you do all that stuff. Fantasy Age, Dragon Age as well, with only 3 character classes, if you have 4 people around, you're going to double up. You're going to be playing the same class. And so it's important for you to have a concept going in, and then totally, this game has so much randomness in character creation. If you want it, you can also choose everything. That's totally fine and acceptable. But it gives you this way to do randomness that I really, really enjoy, and I totally recommend that you take advantage of. Going through, you come up with your basic character concept here at the start, and notice if you look at these real quick, there's a street urchin who will do anything to survive. There are these ideas that are very, very light. They don't point you to a character class or anything. This game allows you to make that choice later if you want to. You can do it at any time. I mean, don't feel like you have to do this order. It totally says, for more advanced players, do whatever you want. Here's like 3 different ways to choose abilities, so this is just the main example. Don't feel that you have to do this. Afterwards, you are going to take a look at your ability scores. You have your basic idea about what you want to be. Check out your ability scores. There are 9 in this game. Accuracy, communication, constitution, dexterity, fighting, intelligence, perception, strength, and willpower. And just to go through it, they're kind of paired. Not 100%, but they kind of are. For example, fighting and strength are totally paired, right? They are going to help your warriors become better fighters. You're going to do more damage. You're going to know how to use more weapons. Accuracy has light weapons in it, light blades and ranged weapons, pairs together with dexterity really nicely. You also have willpower and intelligence, and those are kind of your mage stats. Intelligence allows you to be better at casting magic, and willpower gives you the reserves to have more magic power. We'll get to classes later, of course, but there's also perception. There's also constitution and communication, right? These are the things that round out your character and give you all the skills that you want. You're going to roll 9 times. 3d6, just straight down the road, see what happens. At the end of that, you are allowed to flip any 2 scores you want to. And that doesn't seem like a whole lot, but that flip actually allows you to make sure you have the primary stat that you want to in the game. And that's already fantastic, right? That is enough to get you on the path, because as this game goes, you're going to be able to change your stats a lot. That is a huge part of this game. And it's actually harder to increase higher scores to even higher levels. So maybe you do want to slow down. You want to have a lower stuff, right? It also allows you just to have your story continue as you go through. Like, you start rolling your character, you're playing a warrior, you realize you're actually very good at communication. Why? Why is that? Maybe that's going to come up in your background. Maybe that'll be a racial bonus. It could be all sorts of things. So consider rolling randomly. If you're rolling a character right now, go ahead, roll randomly. Once you roll, this is one of my favorite parts of the game, and this happens in D&D as well, right? There are 2 pieces to your ability scores. There's the number that you roll, the 3d6 roll, and there's the bonus. This game only cares about the bonus, so as soon as you translate, and here at the top left here, we have the translation from die roll to starting ability bonus, you just get rid of the die roll forever. They don't matter. They're gone. All I care about is that my fighting score is a 2 or is a 3. And you can see that these are different. There is a broader range. Generally, when you're rolling 3d6 for stats, you're going to get 10s and 11s and 12s and 13s, 9s, right? It's your general stuff, and that's giving you bonuses of 1 and 2. The more rare rolls will get you up to a 3, potentially, if you get those 15s and 16s. Notice a 15 and a 17 is the same thing. They're just, we don't really care that you get to the 17. We care that you get into the 3 range. Likewise, we don't want you to really get down into the -1 or -2, but it can happen. So you're going to build these stats. You're going to place them where you want to. And throughout the rest of the game, that bonus is what you're going to be adding to all sorts of 3d6 rolls. If you are making a fighting roll and you roll 3d6 and your fighting score is a 2, you're going to add 2 to it. There's nothing else. Well, there's quite a bit else. There's also the focuses. And you can see those over here in like the right column. I'm pointing. I hope you can see it. There are tons of different focuses in this game. If you take a focus in something, you're going to get a +2 to that roll as well. Throughout this game, oh my gosh, we're gonna get into focuses so much, but there is this wonderful ability to continue to take focuses as the game progresses, and sometimes they are the things that you want that will help you, and sometimes they are these secondary things that aren't so important to your character, but they broaden your character out and make you way more interesting than you might be otherwise. So your character never stops being built, I suppose. You might have your idea, but that could change, right? You adapt and you keep moving forward as the game progresses. It's fantastic. And it comes from these really, really simple starting points. So these are totally important. Just looking at the chat real quick, I love the branching adaptability of the classes. A level 20 character would be so neat to craft over the course of a campaign. Oh, I want it so bad. So badly. It's just so much fun that it just keeps building and building and building and changing, and you can become a really well-rounded character and still be really good at the one thing you want. And you make those choices as gameplay progresses, not just at the very start when you make your character. I love it. Whew. Okay, so from there we move into races. There are 6 races in this game, and I will get back to this little bit right here about mixed heritage characters, which is one of my favorite things. But let's take a look at the dwarf, just because it is first. When you choose a race, you immediately, down here at the left, are going to get some very specific bonuses. All dwarves add 1 to your constitution ability. That's not an ability score, right? Remember, we've already gotten rid of those. This is the number 0, 1, 2, or 3. You just add 1 to that number. Then pick an ability focus. Constitution drinking, intelligence evaluation. Sure. You've got dark sight, so you can see in the dark. Of course, you have a speed score. Speed is pretty important in this one. There's very variable speeds as we're looking at these characters and how they work. Armor penalties will slow you down. They will lessen your dexterity. They will do all sorts of stuff. So armor is important to take care of. You can speak and read Dwarven and the Common Tongue. And my favorite part is, I don't know, what kind of dwarf are you going to be? Here's a list of dwarven benefits, and you are going to get 2 of these. You get to roll twice on this list. Roll, again, random, right? I love it. I'm so happy about it. Now, most of your dwarves out there are going to roll twice, and you will probably get a 6, 7, or 8. That's a pretty common result, right, on 2d6, which means you're good at fighting or you're good with axes. That's just, I mean, dwarven, there we go. But potentially you get through this broader range, right? You get to the ends. Maybe you're just super strong. You can do more damage. Maybe you're an engineer. Maybe you have focus in stamina or historical lore. That stuff is cool, and what is really interesting about this, again, if you decide to roll randomly for these things, you don't know what you're going to be. You need to come together with this story that wraps up. Hey, how come your dwarf, like your dwarven warrior, has a focus on intelligence, historical lore? Like, where did you go to school? How did you learn those things, right? It's a cool way to generate your character, and especially for like new players who don't want to dig deep into a backstory initially, this allows you to become very broad very quickly because you have these weird choices that came up during character creation. These are, by the way, very typical. This is a fantasy core, so if you look at this and you go, yeah, those seem like very Tolkien-esque ideas, absolutely. It's the fantasy world that we are most familiar with and see in many, many games. We've got our elves, Larendir and Elendil and Meloran and Algolin, right? It's very dwarven, very elven names. And again, we're getting bonuses to dexterity, to natural lore, to perception. These races are not dramatically different. Uh-oh. Oh, whew. I see we already have characters being created in the chat. One with a 3 dexterity, 2 intelligence, and 2 accuracy. That is a fun combo. I like that already. He might be a flip wizard. We've got gnomes, we have halflings, we have humans, we also have orcs, and in this game, orcs are just, if I can scroll down pretty quickly, I mean, still pretty fierce, but not hated in the way that they are in many other fantasy worlds. Of course, they are going to be good at fighting, generally intimidation, which, if you'll notice down here in the orc table, is a strength score like it should be. Good work there. Potentially good at bludgeons, potentially good at perception, smelling, which I love. There's so many very, very specific focuses. We'll see a much longer list later on. It's going to be great. But let's talk real quick about another thing this game does racially, which I think is very interesting. There is this idea built in about having a mixed heritage, about having some sort of like nature and nurture sort of idea going on. You can easily, if you want to, play an orc that was raised by halflings. All you do to make that happen in the game is if you are, you decide what's kind of primary there, a mixed heritage family. It doesn't totally, however you want to go about it. You choose which one is going to be primary, and you get all those stats. So say I am an orc raised by halflings, right? I get all the orc abilities here. I also get the 1 roll on the orc benefits table down here, and then I head up to halflings, and I get a roll on that one. So maybe my orc warrior is also like, I'm really good at willpower, courage, or maybe I get this ability to climb that I got from running around with my halfling siblings or whatever else. I find that very, very fun. That's just a cool idea. Really kind of nice way to move past the very, very specific things, right? This is getting us closer to like what Pathfinder 2 is doing with ancestries and things like that. Not making it so specific, but allowing things to be broader and have more choice, which I love. Yes, yeah, it is so good. I hope, making these kind of mixed heritage characters is tons of fun, and it gives you, again, really, really cool narrative ideas. I would love to see what this half dwarf, half gnome is like, and how that interaction comes in. We have our traditional stolid dwarves, and we have our very flighty gnomes. How does that work out? I'm excited. I would love to know more. After that, you pick your background. By pick, I mean roll. Of course, you can pick. Like I keep saying, you can pick all you want, or there's a system built in where you get a certain number of points which help you choose. You can basically choose everything except to pick 2 ability score bonuses. If you get those, then you actually do have to be a little bit more careful. But otherwise, you can pick most stuff you got. I love it. Social class right here, there are 4 different major classes: outsider, lower class, middle class, and upper class. And again, there's a range. Most people will be in the middle, fewer on the edges. Each one of these have a description, but each of those also lead you to another focus that you get to add. These, you get to pick one of the 2. excuse me, for whichever one you randomly get into. If you randomly rolled lower class and then you randomly rolled performer, you either get communication performance or intelligence musical lore, right? Take a look at these real quick. I mean, honestly, just look at the ones up top, look at the ones on bottom. This is a very interesting way to actually, think about class. I love this. Look at the bottom, look at upper class. So we got communication etiquette, we've got intelligence heraldry, intelligence military lore, right? We have these very, very specific, like we might think of as like upper class academic style skills. Will those come up as often? Maybe. But maybe, like if you go down to lower class, we have strength might, we have constitution stamina, we have these accuracy brawling, right? We have some very, very active skills from that we get out of our class bonuses. It's just a really interesting dynamic that they've built into this little class structure, especially because it's balanced by how much money you get at the start of the game. Upper classes do start with quite a bit more and can buy some better equipment almost immediately. So again, very fun. Maybe what you really want is to have dexterity lockpicking right here. You already know that. So if you decide to do the choosing method, you can hop in here, choose lower class, or choose outsider, choose criminal, get that dexterity lockpicking if you need to. Again, very broad. We're building our character as we go. And it's so good. It's so powerful. We move on from here. Again, there's descriptions for all of these. This is immediately how I got to one of my favorite characters. Pascal was just being this monstrous noble right there. Actually, that's right there. Next up, we move to class. And I want to point out a couple things before we get into the classes. Hope everything's going okay. You're following along well out there. There are 3 classes, and only 3. If you take a look at Titan's Grave, there are some other things going on in there. If you take a look at Dragon Age, there's some other stuff going on in there. But generally, there's 3 classes. That's just the way the game works. Your choices with how you approach these classes is what makes you different from another character. I played a game where a friend and I were both the rogues. Actually, it's linked down below. A couple of years ago, I did an actual play of a Fantasy Age with Chris Pramus, and we did it on the RPG Academy. And my friend Kenna and I both played rogues, and it was really fun because we had to decide what made our rogues different. And if you're playing a pretty, classic game, if you're playing like the basic rules of D&D or something, it's hard to make them different. You get the same abilities. Your background might change some things. The race you choose, there's advantages to picking certain ones for certain classes, right? Fantasy Age lets you be a little bit broader. So we were a pretty widely different set. I think there was me, the noble jerk who wanted to be the most famous assassin in the world, which is a stupid thing to want. There was also Kenna, who I believe was more of like an investigative, like a newspaper style reporter, adventurer. It was a ton of fun. Anyway, you can listen to that. I linked it below if you want to go check it out. It's like a 4-part actual play. It was a ton of fun. And you'll also get, a good way to learn about this game. I see here in the chat, my half-elf, half-orc grew up working in their parents' inn and is generally great. That's good to know. Oh gosh, I'm so happy already. We should just play all these characters, get them all together, and there we go. When you choose your class, there are a couple benefits that you're going to get immediately. There's a few choices you have to make, but looking at this class description chunk here makes me want to point out that there is a difference in these classes about how they view primary abilities and secondary abilities. They basically are going to take the 9 ability scores in the game and separate them into 2 chunks. You are going to get the opportunity to improve stuff all around, right? But sometimes you'll need to choose a primary thing, sometimes you'll need to choose a secondary thing. So that actually is a very cool difference in this game. I can't just make fighting better all the time. Sometimes I've got to move back and focus on my communication skills if I want to, or something else. We've got our starting health, weapon groups, class powers, and you'll notice these are very, very sparse. That is going to be a big deal as we take a look at these classes. The mage, the master of magic, right there. Primary abilities: accuracy, intelligence, perception, and willpower. Secondary, the other stuff. Fantastic. That's good. That's great. Okay. So we'll split those up. We'll think about that for a second. We'll hold on. Those make sense. I like that. Starting health is going to be 20 plus my constitution score, which probably I didn't put something great in, so call it 1, 2, maybe. And then add a d6. Weapons, I'm only good at brawling and staves. If I ever use a weapon that is not brawling and staves, and I haven't figured out a plan for how to use that weapon, I'm awful. I do, I believe, a d6 minus 1 damage. So if I pick up a sword, a d6 minus 1, and then I have to have that when I'm done. It's awful. It's really bad. So this is, you know, if you think about like the Dragon Age video game, right? So mages were always carrying around these big, huge staffs, and they were casting their arcane blasts out of it. In this one, you can use a range of arcane devices that you like down here. But one of your big abilities is this arcane blast, so you don't have to worry about weapons. Your staff just sends out bolts of power. It tells you exactly how that works here. This is resolved like a normal ranged attack. Let me tell you, that's rolling 3d6 and adding some stuff. Possibility of stunts. It's an accuracy arcane blast test. So if I have a focus in accuracy arcane blast, I will be better at that. If not, I'm just going to add my accuracy score. Has a range of 16 yards. Oh my gosh, this game uses yards instead of feet, and it's so good just because it translates to metric pretty easily. I'm so happy about that. Turned 5 feet into metric. It's terrible. Tells us exactly how much damage it does here. I will tell you that, right, this game is often split. It's an accuracy roll to hit, does willpower and damage. So you can't just focus on a single stat. You've got to be broad in this game. Arcane device, you just need something to cast magic out of. It's good. Stunts are possible is a wonderful phrase. I cannot... Oh, stunts. We'll get there. It's what makes this game so exciting. Magic training, right? You are a mage. You get a couple talents. We haven't talked about talents yet. They're coming up. You get 2 magic talents, which will teach you 4 spells. Each talent gives you 2. They will eventually give you 4 total if you decide to go into these talents. Talents are a really big part about this game, and we'll keep seeing them in these early descriptions for classes. They are how our characters become amazing. We also have magic points. This is a magic point system, not a spell slot system, so I'm very excited. If you want to cast a spell 3 times in a row, as long as you have that many magic points, you can. Or, you know, there's some variability in some of those. Stunts come back to play there. It's so good. Oh my gosh. Okay. Notice here, you cast spells generally with your intelligence score. You have a number of magic points. Your willpower gets added into that. Your willpower also talks about damage in there and effects and things like that. So again, it is this balance between these 2 skills, these 2 attributes all the time. Let's scroll down a little bit because you'll see you get a starting talent as well. You become a novice in either chirurgy, linguistics, or lore. Chirurgy, I hope I said that right. Healing. You can heal folks. Notice that's it. That's it. That's all you get. And if we scroll down, you can see the progression for the next 20 levels on one page, and you'll see very similar things. New talent, new magic talent, new specialization, stunt bonus, right? You get to make choices at all of these levels, gaining new talents or becoming better at a talent you already have. We'll take a look at the talent list. This is not even adding in the bonuses that you get from leveling. Just from leveling, you get to add focuses and ability scores as well. So this is a game that I like a lot, and just this is getting a little ahead of myself. I want to get into leveling soon. Oh gosh, we're half an hour in. I'm still in character creation because it's so good. It's so important. You get to make so many choices, right? In a lot of games, you make choices at the start. It's very front-loaded, and then when you level up, you just get a few things, right? 5th Ed D&D is a good example of that. I don't mean to keep comparing these 2 games, but it's an easy comparison. When you level up, you get some hit points, and you get the next ability written down. Maybe you just hit 3rd level, and you get to make a choice about your archetype, but that's just once, right? This one is constant. Like, you just, every time you level up, I'm going to get a new talent, I'm going to get a new focus, I'm going to get a new ability score. I hit 3rd level, okay, magic talent, ability score, focus, right? So I just get to keep building these things, and I get to make my character just wild as I go. It's so good. It's the entire mage class right there. We got our rogue. The rogue is an archer right here. Rogues are good at accuracy, communication, dexterity, and perception. They get a little bit more health. They get a little bit broader range of weapon groups. Notice in those weapon groups, there's black powder. This game absolutely has, firearms in it, light firearms. And down here, we already have like class powers for levels 1, 2, and 3, like all on the same page. It's not a going on. The choices aren't here. They're in other places. Level 1 pinpoint attack. So you're not going to be good at strength generally. Strength is not one of your primary scores. But once per round, you can add a d6 to your successful attack, as long as your dex is greater. Rogue's armor. You're good at leather armor. Cool. And starting talents, again, these talents, you get a choice between contact, scouting, and thievery, and those are really going to specify how different your rogues are. If you have a rogue, if two people play rogues, this is what you get, right? Your stats are different, you've got some different focuses potentially, you pick a different starting talent, and that automatically puts you on a path to being pretty broadly different, even if some of these abilities are the same. For example, level 2, you get a stunt bonus. You can do a stunt a little bit easier. All rogues are going to get that, but we'll get different talents at level 3. We'll get different specializations. Look at level 5, new talents, new, right? It's just new. Some of our things will be the same, but we are constantly becoming different. It's so good. Moving on to our warrior. Warriors are really good at different weapon groups. I'm just going to scroll down to level 1 real quick. Look at that. All you get at level 1 is some weapon talents. That's it, right? So those have to have cool abilities in them, right? As you choose those, you're going to get to do cool stuff. This is just giving you like the framework of the choices that you get to make. Obviously more health here. The abilities that we're looking for are more based around fighting and combat than generally perception or willpower. They are also getting some abilities. You keep seeing at level 4 specialization, which we will get to. New weapon groups, new talents, new weapon group, new talent. Oh, it's so good. Gaining levels. We already got to it. When you gain a level, you get some hit points. You get the things that your class says that you get, the choices that your class says that you get to make. And you get an advancement to spend on one of your abilities. When you gain an even level, you spend it on a primary ability. So 2nd level, 4th level, 6th level, you boost one of your main abilities that you care about. At every odd level, you have to boost one of your secondary abilities. So that's like, well, I hit level 3. Gosh, I've been trying to communicate a whole lot. Our party's not very good at deception, so I'm going to jump in and I'm going to increase my communication score and then potentially take a focus in deception so that I can be really good at that. And you absolutely get to, because every level you get to pick an ability focus as well, and you have to follow those same rules. 2nd level, 4th level, it's a primary ability. Odd levels, it is a secondary ability. So by the time you get to these odd levels, you are immediately like, what's missing? How can I broaden myself? How can I create these other things? Making my character more interesting. On even levels, right, you're making your primary stuff better. So you're like, well, I want to be better at fire magic. I want to be better at hitting stuff with hammers. So I can focus on those. Once you get to a high enough ability score, again, your ability scores are increasing. Once you get to down here at the bottom left, if your ability score would move from a 5 to a 6, it actually takes 2 advancements. So now you're getting like 5.5, and you're getting close, and it's going to take you another advancement. It is harder to get higher in these ranks. Once you get to level 11, you can also start to take a focus. You can retake a focus, which will increase the bonus to 3. So just thinking about that, right? The scores that we are getting on these rolls, like getting a 20 on 3d6, it's hard to do. You roll a 14. You're still looking for a difference of 6. That means if you have a focus that's 2 more, you need a stat of 4, and generally you don't get that at the start of the game, right? So that advancement is taking you to that higher level. Fortunately, like if we're talking about combat, defenses are not super high. In fact, your defense... basic starting equipment, because you're a terrible adventurer, you have to get better starting money based on that. Defense is very low. Defense is 10 plus your dexterity bonus, plus your shield bonus if you have a shield, and that's it. Defenses are going to be stuff like 13, 14 at the start of the game. And because they're so low, I don't need huge scores in order to hit people. I just need to do well enough, right? Armor will change that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Last up, pick a name, pick up a goal for yourself and a tie. How do you relate to your adventuring party? How are they all together? Oh my gosh. Sometimes when you level up, you want to look at these goals and find out if you have accomplished them and if you need to make new goals, and they can kind of help progress your party and your story together. That takes us to chapter 2, but I can't go to chapter 2. I can't do the basic rules yet. We're not done with character creation. This monster of a game. How are we doing here in the chat? Before I move into that, I like the constancy with even and odd levels. Yeah, it's really interesting because there are times you're very excited to make a certain choice and you can't. You have to wait until next level, and that forces you to make a different choice. I will totally say right now that if I were running a campaign of this, you would level every adventure. Maybe an adventure is 2 sessions, but you're leveling because I want those choices, right? I want to drive your characters and make them more interesting very, very quickly. Yeah, I'm very excited about Fantasy Age. That's why I'm going to be playing it on Saving Throw. May 6th, I believe, we are doing a one-shot for their RPG Exploration Society. I put a link to that down below as well, just in case you want to check that out. I mean, it's a long month away, and I do have to playtest that adventure, if anyone, you know. Let's do a quick jump. I'm going to come back to chapter 2, but I need to, before that, let's try and do these two a little bit quicker so I can get to the entire game. I don't just want to teach you character creation. We're going to talk about stunts. I need to go to page 41. Character options. So I want to do character options. I want to talk about magic real quick, a little bit about armor, and then just show you the character sheet just so you can be done with that. Character options. Look, this is just a list of focuses. It's a huge list. It's a huge list. There are rules in here. If you want to take something a little bit more specific, you're welcome to, but these will cover most of the things, right? Take a look at perception real quick. There is empathy, hearing, searching, seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, and tracking. Those are all different. Well, so you're making a check, right? You want to be perception. Someone, you know, the GM is going to say, like, well, actually, since you have a focus in smelling, you can use that on this check, but it might not come up, right? I don't know if evaluation is going to come up very often, or heraldry, or rowing, but if it does, my focus comes into play. So you could approach this game by like trying to find the focuses that will be best for your character, and there will be some for sure. There will be, if you're a mage, your arcana, your weapons, whatever else you need in there. Initiative is a dexterity focus, pretty handy one. Lock-picking, things like that, things that will come up often. But there are other things that are just very, very cool that you can just pick up as the game progresses, and maybe they are something that you just learned about, and you're like, yeah, I want to study that in my off time. Very cool. Again, they just stay at +2, but once you hit level 11, you can push them up to a +3, which is kind of neat. There's a little optional rule about trade focuses. There is a crafting skill in dexterity and a smithing school in focus. And so if those aren't enough for you, if you want to get more specific, you can, but those are generally meant to be as broad as necessary. It's like the craft skill, 3rd ed D&D. Let's see. Then we've got these talents. And again, at first level, everyone chose a talent. Each of the talents have requirements. So alchemy is something that anyone can take as long as they have an intelligence of 2 or higher. Every talent has 3 levels, a novice, a journeyman, and a master. When you take the talent, you get the novice ability. If you take the talent again, you level up in that ability and you get the next level. So there are grenades in this game, alchemical grenades. And if you take alchemy, look, you can make blast vials and thunder vials. You got it. But if you want to make those more powerful ones, you need to focus on this. You need to level up your alchemy talent a couple times as it progresses. Excuse me. You cannot skip up to master. Got to do these things in order. That's how talents work. Animal training. Armor training, right? You get better at wearing very specific types of armor. This is one that warriors get for free. They automatically start at a novice level, but if you move up to journeyman, then suddenly you get a little bit more, right? Archery style. If you're already trained in bows, rogues, and warriors can become better at archery. And just to take a look at this, like the novice level is, if people get too close to me, I'm doing more damage, right? That could potentially be like a class ability in a different game, but it's here in this talent that you have to decide whether or not you want to take advantage of. It's so good. Again, you can reload faster as a journeyman. You got this stunts ability. Stunts are possible at a master level. Command, you can lead. You can help things out. Contacts, you know people. I love the novice contacts. It's a really fun rogue ability. Every time you talk to an NPC, you can be like, hey, you want to be my friend? And I'll be able to talk to you in the future. You make a communication persuasion test and find out whether you have mutual friends, whether that communication can happen. That might mean when you go to a place, you can just find that person and automatically talk to them. It's so good. Journeyman level lets you get favors out of that. And master will take it up to like signs of loyalty and allies and things like that. You can build a power network. Intrigue, horseman, oh my gosh, observation, lore, oratory, mounted combat style. Again, there's all sorts of combat styles that give you new combat tricks. Some of them are pretty broad, like single weapon style. That's not just like longsword or stuff. You can do all sorts of stuff there. Unarmed weapon and shield, thrown weapon, two-hander. All right. And then, at 4th level, specializations. If you remember 3rd edition, there were prestige classes. And I love prestige classes. I thought they were a ton of fun. They had requirements for you to actually move into the class, and if you didn't meet the requirements, you had to wait until you did or pick something different. This game expects that you have a person who is willing to train you in these things. That's pretty important. You don't just wake up one day as an assassin. But if you are a rogue, and at 4th level you have Dex and Intelligence both at 2 or higher, you can start becoming an assassin. And again, these are kind of talents, so there is a novice, journeyman, and master level, and those are unlocked as you gain levels, not just for, based on choices. I totally can't remember what levels off the top of my head. Oh, I know 4 and 6, maybe? Anyway. Or you can switch it up. You can do all sorts of stuff there. Right. Just double checking. There's the rules right here at the top. I might as well read them. Taking 1 degree of the specialization talent at each of levels 4, 6, and 8. So you could finish this out by 8th level. That's fantastic. Arcane Scholar. If you recall the Dragon Age game, you might know some of these, like the Duelist. And especially if you look at the RPG there, you will totally see the same things as you saw in the game. They're fantastic. And they also came out of that game, right? You joined them at a certain level in the game. I can't remember what level now. But they were choices that you made that made you super cool, and it was fantastic. You get cool abilities. Oh my gosh, it's so great. Mage Hunter, Sharpshooter. One of the ones I wanted to go back to was the Duelist, just because I enjoy that one a lot. The Duelist, like at the novice level, you learn the dueling weapon group. It's a weapon group that's kind of reserved for you, and that's your like mangoshes and spiked bucklers and stuff like that. And when you're fighting in that style and you have weapons that are use accuracy rather than fighting, you gain bonuses. So you suddenly have this like super advanced fighting style because you decided to become a duelist, and then you have to buy those weapons. My rogue just carried them around because he was a noble, so we bought them immediately and then just put them in a backpack until he grew up enough to start using them. It was fun. Lots of stuff for mages here, and this is where you become different. This is really like, by the time someone's a duelist and someone is an assassin, you are rocking pretty different characters at that point. Only thing I want to touch on here is a really quick look at armor. There's an armor system that's really important. Your armor has a rating, and whenever you get hit, you reduce the damage dealt by that number. So that's cool. If you were wearing light plate, that means every time someone hits you, you take 8 less damage. That's awesome. It's a very different system. Your defense is usually pretty low. The only way, again, you can boost your defense is dexterity or shields or some talents. But heavy armor just makes you take less damage. And it's real frustrating if you are like a first level fighter or something, and you're attacking and you're doing a d6 plus 3 damage. You can't hurt someone in heavy plate. You just can't unless you stunt. We're close. Weapons real quick, just to show you the table. Look at all these weapons that you can have. Again, you can have variations on these, but look at all of them, how they all do d6, 2d6, 3d6 damage with bonuses, things like that. This is a fantastic arc. This means you can be much more reliant on doing damage. When my least favorite weapon in the world is a great axe in D&D, because I never roll the 12, I always roll the 2 or the 3 or whatever, right? So there are ways to minimize that happening in that game, but in this one I can rely on the fact that if I am a lance group fighter, I'm running around on my charger and I'm using a heavy lance and I roll 2d6 plus 1, I'm pretty likely to get 8 damage as an outcome. And that's a good thing to be able to plan around in kind of a, in any sort of combat game. So, oh boy. Page 67. Some of you don't get to use weapons. You're focused more on magic. And again, when you take Arcana focuses, you get to decide what kind of magic you get to use. In this game, you can cast an armor, but it spends more magic points in order to do it. So don't use heavy plates at level 1. You'll only get to cast like 1 spell, and that sucks. But if you want to wear light leather, take a little bit less damage when you get hit, feel free. In this game, your casting roll in order to cast spells, every spell has a target number you're trying to hit. In order to successfully cast it, you can fail to cast a spell and still lose magic points. So you want that to be good. You want to be good at doing this. And it's 3d6 plus your intelligence bonus to cast the spell, plus any Arcana focus if you have them. Spell power is a little bit different. Sometimes you are casting at a target and they resist spells naturally. Your spell power is going to overcome those things, and that takes your willpower. So again, there's this dual stat thing you need to do if you are a mage that will help you out in this game. Oh, just got to skip past stunts. Can't look at it yet. That's cheating. Air Arcana. When you take the Novice in Air Arcana, you get 2 spells. Protective Winds. If you make a magic target number 10 spellcasting check, you suddenly summon up a whipping wind that circles about you. It lasts for the end of the encounter. You gain a +2 to defense versus ranged attacks, and anyone adjacent to you, no matter who they are, gets a -1 when making melee attacks. Fantastic, and that costs 4 magic points. It is a defense spell. Its casting time is a major action, so actions. There's an action economy in this game, which is pretty darn important. Divination focuses on the the duality between the Bloodhound spell and the Blood Mark spell. There's a lot of, I cast Blood Mark on that, and then I can track it with my Bloodhound spell, because you automatically get both of them at the same time. So let's make them work together really well. Fantastic. The higher level spells, like Winds of Flight or Good Omens, these are things that you get when you are a master of these arcanas. So if you want to be focused on something, you can get to some powerful spells quickly. If you want to take a lot of arcana, you get a pretty wide variety of spells. Again, the first level Novice always gives you 2 spells, which is pretty cool. We got Earth, we got Fate, we have all the elements. Dragon Age was real big into that. Healing Arcana is just right here. If you want to play a cleric, you just need the Healing Arcana, and you can still cast fireballs if you want to, or Chain Lightning, whatever you want. So here again, if you have 2 mages in the group, and often when I play Dragon Age, I liked having multiple mages because you have this huge variability. But, you know, having a range character and a melee, there's all sorts of choices that you can make. There's so many different parties that you can make with this game. It's a ton of fun, and all of this goes to page 145. Has our character sheet. Pretty simple character sheet that comes with this game, giving you your class, your experience points, level, all the stuff that you would kind of expect to see on a character sheet. Over on the left here are the 9 stats. Basically, as you're making your character, you put a check mark if something is a primary skill in that little box, and you put your number in the rating box. Anything you take a focus in, you just write next. Like if I take focus, accuracy, bows, I just write bows in the accuracy box. Now that easily tells me accuracy. Oh, I have a focus in it, so I'm going to take this skill of 3, my attribute bonus of 3. I'm going to add 2 to it whenever I roll. If you ever double up and get it to the +3, you're supposed to underline it. I haven't played to that high of a level, honestly, so I don't know how easy that is to do. Maybe circle it or bold it or something like that. Otherwise, this is just a 1-page document. It doesn't have a lot of space on here for like cool character stuff. And again, that's probably going to go on another page. This is as bare bones as you can make it, but it can be this bare bones. It doesn't have, you don't need a whole lot of detail on all of these. Generally, like the powers, you don't get a ton of spells. You get your Arcane Blast that you're going to use a lot. Spells are going to come up situationally, unless you're blasting lightning, and you can do that all the time. But you need to keep track of your magic points and stuff like that. So get a good character sheet for this. Make sure there are probably some really cool ones out there that give you all of the, like, what is your background? Write it all down. Like, where did I learn this focus? Where did I learn these things? Like keeping track of all those things, which would be a really important part of this game. Oh, okay. Characters. Done. It's done. I think it's done. It's pretty much done. Which means I got 2 more things that I want to talk about, and my intent for this was to be an hour long. It's already like 5:50. Gosh, I could run this all day long. All day. How are we doing there, chat folks? What do we got? I am seeing... Ooh, good note. Each character can take 2 specialization talents and take both to master level over the course of 20 levels. That's good news. If I want to be a duelist assassin, I guess Pascal could have become the most famous assassin. He was specifically going to become a duelist for no good reason, except to make it weird. Glad to see that there's some homebrew Fantasy Age out there. I love this system. I think it is so good, and you haven't even gotten to stunts yet. Stunts. Is it time? Do we jump to stunts? Yeah. Seen in the chat, I find the character sheet to be a bit minimalistic. I think it probably would work out for new players who can see their options very quickly in one thing, but I personally like more robust character sheets, so I would love to see a broader one, and I just haven't looked at one yet. And also in the chat, my half-elf, half-orc wizard, whose parents own a bar, was that it? Who work in a tavern together? Yep, grew up working in their parents' inn and is generally great. Is a half-orc wizard now, half-elf, half-orc wizard, learned in healing and wood arcana. That's awesome. I think that's a ton of fun. Good. Okay, I gotta find those character sheets. And everyone's excited about stunts. It's the best part of this. It's what makes this game so good. Right, from everything I've said, you would not expect that this would be my second favorite system to run episodes of the hit TV show 24. I would probably do Modern Age, but still, it's going to work for this really well. And the reason why is because of stunts. So real quick, some basic gameplay, which is going to involve the basic of stunts here. So I need to get back to page 30. Player basics, the stunt die. So let's see if you can see this up next to my face really easily. These are the official Dragon Age dice here. You'll notice that, well, first they're a little tough to read, but that's okay because they're cool. This one with this dragon right here, I happen to like quite a bit. Also got some pretty fancy swords and stuff on here. I'm a fan of these dice. They're very cool. But the big thing about them is that two of them are the same color and one of them is not. And you must have dice like this in order to play this game. Personally, I like to use my two Elder Sign dice right here. And then one from Pathfinder Society. This is the Sigil of the Open Road, I believe, that I got at like a PaizoCon a few years ago. I like these personally just because they have pips. And that's pretty easy for me to count. Because whenever you roll dice in this game, you need to do two things at the same time. I don't have the Blue Rose dice. I just saw that comment. I have the game and the tokens and all sorts of stuff, but I haven't picked up the Blue Rose dice. That's a good plan. I'm on it. Whenever you roll dice in this game, you are trying to do two things at once. Number one is you are trying to count the total as quickly as you can, because that'll tell you if you're successful, right? This is 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? That's why I like pips, because you can count them. It's easier for me. But you're going to take that. You're going to add your stat and focus bonus, whatever that is, to get a final total. If you succeed, we'll look at the difficulty in this game in just a second, then that's awesome, right? You are successful. That is the stuff we want to know. In D&D with the D20, you know that immediately by looking at the die, right? If I rolled a 17, I'm going to hit. I don't care what I'm fighting. I'm probably going to hit. If I rolled a 2, there's no way. This game, I got to do some counting. I got to add some things. I got to do some stuff. And then I need to do something equally as important. No. I can go to the basic test difficulty real quick right here. Look at that. Those are the numbers you're generally trying to look at in this game. If there is a basic roll, something that is not hard to do, maybe the target number is just a 7. It's routine. Or easy or average or challenging, formidable, nigh impossible at 21. At 21, like I said earlier, it's hard to get. It is hard to get. As I'm making these checks, I want to make sure that I am kind of thinking about how hard something is, right? If you are playing in a game that I'm doing and you are like climbing a rope, I don't know how that feels like an average thing. Make an average check and you'll know that's an 11, right? We'll have that conversation. I'm not going to be like, that's a mystery. Who knows what it is? Just roll some dice and see what happens. Generally, you should know what that is, and this game makes it very, very clear what those target numbers are, which I really, really appreciate. The other thing you have to look at is for stunts. The die that is a different color, which is not showing up in this example, is the stunt die. This die is really important. This generates stunt points for you if two things happen. Number one, you were successful in your attempt. And number two, dude, I have to cheat real quick. There we go. You roll doubles. If any of these dice come up doubles, you have stunted. As long as you've succeeded on the check as well. That means, applied my math skills on this one just to make sure that I got it right. The odds of stunting are about 45%, actually. You also need to succeed on the check past that, but doubles on 3 dice come up fairly often. There's a whole lot of different possibilities for those, which is pretty darn good, because stunting is what makes this game really, really exciting. Basic mechanics, rolling these 3d6, adding a couple numbers, not too hard to do, and I know that some new players might get a little bit like, oh, I've got to do some adding, like, you know, I know the society we live in. We fear math for reasons beyond me, but we can do this. We can do this pretty quick. And oh gosh, where am I? I'm just talking about math now. It makes me sad. You can easily add these up to find out whether you succeeded or not. It's fantastic. The basic target numbers are a super helpful guideline that I wish more games had. I think Numenera has a pretty good system like that, but Fantasy Age has one that is like very easy to claw into, and I'm very happy about it. Anything else about basic gameplay? I mean, we already got combat, which is good. The other big thing about this game is just how actions work. On your turn, you can take a major action and a minor action or 2 minor actions. That's about it. A round is about 15 seconds. Can't do a whole lot, but you can do enough. And there are a ton of different types of major actions that you can take, like a melee attack or a ranged attack. Those are both right there. But if you'll notice on this list, there's also all-out attack. Okay? That just means you're going to go wild on this attack. You're going to try and do a little bit more damage, but you're going to lose 1 to your defense until your next turn. You can charge, moving half your speed and then making a melee attack and then getting a bonus, right? There are tactical options in here that are open to everybody. They're a free-for-all, and different versions of this game have different actions involved in them. Healing is right here. Running, also good. Take care of that if you need to. You can just defend anytime you want. There are also minor actions, and these are pretty interesting. We've got activate, just doing some stuff. Aiming. Okay, I love aiming. Aiming is right there. You can aim in melee or ranged. You just spend your minor action saying, I try harder, and then you get a +1 to your attack roll on your major attack to follow. There's also guard up. You can take a penalty to, you gain a bonus to your defense, but you lose that amount on any tests you take during the round, which is very, very cool. Moving around, preparing, press the attack. So there's all these different options for you on your turn. So your turn can be pretty complicated because you decide, I want to do this action, I want to attack this person. What I'm going to do is I need to move this turn and then attack. Maybe I'll do an all-out attack. Maybe I will prepare. Maybe, there's a lot of different options, which is cool because I love a dynamic combat, and this game is all about it. Then we can make our attacks and everything else. There's, the damage. And then... let's get started. Let's get to stunts. Welcome to the list of combat stunts. This is one of my favorite tables in the entire book. This is when you are playing this game and you are a warrior or a rogue. You want this right in front of you at all times. Everyone does. Mage does as well. Mage just also needs the spell stunts. Okay. So here we go. When you stunt... So say I succeeded on this check I had earlier. This is a 4-4 and a 1. So I get 1 stunt point, right? What that means is I can spend that stunt point on a skirmish, a rapid reload, or a stay aware on my turn in combat. Cool. All right. So skirmish is a pretty easy one. If I decide to spend that on skirmishing, then I can move myself or the target of my attack 2 yards in any direction. I'm charging towards them. I get a little bit of extra action in there, or I move away, or I push them, or all sorts of stuff. That's all built into that. Rapid reload, instantly reload instead of taking another action in order to do it. Staying aware is really focusing on the rest of the world, which is kind of a cool thing to do. It's hard to do during combat because you're actively fighting, but maybe I do want to pay attention to that weird doorway over there and who's about to come through it. If I get up to 2, I can start knocking people prone. That's awesome. I can take a defensive stance. I get bonuses to my defense just for stunting, right? This entire list, I get to choose from anytime I stunt. I can use any combination of these that I want to, as long as I don't pick the same one twice, up to a maximum of the number of stunt points I rolled on my die. Here it is. This is all I want to roll all day long in every game, is this 6 right here on my stunt die. I want it so bad because it means I get so many choices. Is it going to be a lethal blow that I'm going to inflict an extra 2d6 damage on an attack? Or am I going to try and threaten and taunt during this fight and then just do a lightning attack, getting a second attack on someone else in range? The thing that this does that I find so amazing is it gives me as a character a really narrative way to describe what I'm doing, right? Often when we're playing role-playing games, on your attack, you roll some dice, and then it's like they say, well, what happened? Role-play it. What did you do? And you're like, it's like an overhead chop, and then I come down, and I smack him, and it does 6 damage, and I rolled a 14 to hit. No, no, no. We want cinema. We want the action to build. We want it to be fantastic. And that's what this game does. On my turn, I go in. My attack, I'm able to... I've got a 3 points on my stunt, so my hammer comes swooping in, and I hit them so hard that they go flying back 2 feet, or 2 yards rather. I take my skirmish action to send them flying, and then they fall prone over there, right in front of my friends, and my friends are like, very cool. Now that you're prone, I get an attack to hit you, because you're prone. Oh, gosh, it's just so good. Or I can do a mighty blow. I can do more damage. If I am playing a rogue, one of the abilities I get at 2nd level is that Pierce Armor. Having target armor rating, that means that takes someone's armor from 10 all the way down to 5. I find that perfect way to get around their armor. I get right through the crack in between their plates or whatever else. Rogues get that as a 1-point stunt instead of a 2-point stunt. So they can do that. They can do it every time they stunt. It's fantastic. You just need to succeed. What I totally suggest players do for this is find a few that your character likes to do, right? If you have a character that is the two-handed, huge sword, huge hammer warrior, and you roll a 5 on the stunt check and you're not always doing lethal blow, first tell me why, but I want to know what a character is likely to do, right? My rogue would always pierce armor as the attack, rather than taking the extra d6 of damage for a mighty blow, which is another 2-point attack. I wouldn't disarm very often. That's not what my character does. My character is the most famous assassin in the world, so I'm looking to pierce armor and do more damage. Other characters like to stay aware of their surroundings and focus on this whole thing right here. Oh my gosh. There's just so many choices, and different versions of this game have other stunts as well, right? There are... oh my gosh, I'd have to look it up for Titan's Grave. I don't remember them offhand, but adding those sci-fi elements just add different options that could exist in the game. Just taking a look at the chat real quick. I see a little bit of chatter about buying a physical book. I know that Green Ronin has closed their... Have they closed their warehouses? A lot of people are saying buy PDFs right now, so buying a physical book might be tough. I don't know. I hope someone's got an answer to that. Also, Dragon Age has other stunts. You can make up your own stunts. There is the Game Mastery Guide, which does give you different options for how to create stunts. The adventure I will be running in a month will have brand new stunts in it, because I have a situation that these stunts just don't cover perfectly. Am I a mage? Am I a mage? Do I want to know more about maging? 69. Standard spell stunts. If I'm casting spells, I can take a look at these. That arcane blast that mages get count as combat, so you'll be working with those instead. But here, I'm going to start casting powerfully. I'm going to increase the spell power of my spells so that I can do more, or reduce the magic cost, right? Because I'm a skillful caster. Whenever these stunts come up, and again, they come up often. Or maybe I'm going to do a mighty spell that does more damage, or it's going to last longer, or I get a shield, or it's faster, or it's a split spell, or I'm disruptive. Like, there's just all these possibilities. Decide what your character likes to do and tend to do those. If none of these fit perfectly, like work with your game master to come up with a new idea for it. But stunts make your actions cinematic, because suddenly you're not just doing the one thing. I'm hitting them. Like you are doing this broad, like sprawling. I do this and then I do this and then I do this, and that's fun. And it's fun not just to say, but it's fun to listen to. It's fun to watch. It's an exciting, active moment, and I absolutely recommend that you take advantage of these stunts and just go wild with them. So good. Are stunts just for combat, friends? No. There's a whole stunt chapter. Although it's already got the combat and spell ones in here. We just want to take a look at the exploration stunts and the role-playing stunts. There's stuff for this as well, right? When you are out here, just looking around, right? You're doing a perception check and you stunt. What kind of bonuses could you get from that? Could you? Well, I'll make that an efficient search. I'll find that in half as much time as I thought it would take. Or maybe that makes me wonder. I can immediately make another perception test at no cost to discover more, right? The storyteller or the game master has to tell me more about what's going on. Maybe because I have looked so hard at something, I get a bonus to later stunts or later attempts to find that thing. It's just fantastic. I love this whole thing. With a flourish, the manner of your success is impressive to those nearby to watch you. You make an oratory check and you just la la la. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, you're fantastic. We so good. Let's see, in the role-playing stunts, one of my favorite ones here is actually the level 1 stunt, the bon mots. You tag the perfect witty remark onto the end of your action, affecting all those who hear it that much more deeply. Word of your wit is like, I did this every single time, and I would just be like, my character Pascal would just say Pascal, and then people would be like, oh my gosh, it's you, it's Pascal, it's great. So just adding that to basically everything got really, really weird, but it started making that character a little bit more interesting and deep just because of this weird stunt that he kept doing. Swaying the crowd, jesting, flirting, Tower of Will, enraging. You can do all sorts of stuff here, and it all depends, like, it's something separate from your action. You can totally try to make a check hoping to stunt and hoping to get one of these outcomes, but it's kind of like secondary to the actual skill that you're trying to do at the same time. So the thing that I am most excited about this game for, in general, are stunts. I love the system. I love setting the whole thing up. I love, mathematically, it's very elegant to me. I love the breadth, I suppose, the broadness of the system that allows me to play a lot of different types of stories. But it's stunts that really, really get me here. So, I'm gonna jump out of there and just come back because I gotta calm down with stunts. This game is all about these bold, active choices. Like, get in there, this doesn't need to be a calm, like, let's go and walk through, a cave full of goblins or something. Make a huge action scene. Make something big and dynamic. Like, get in there and a huge, scary combat is going on. But if we can stunt, weird things can happen, right? I want to give people all the hooks that they need to narrate their own actions, and then I want them to be shocked and surprised and happy when they see a stunt has come up as well. The worst feeling in this game, honestly, is when you roll doubles but you don't succeed because you miss the opportunity to do a stunt. Like, it's much more painful than actually missing the attack or whatever you were trying to do, I think. I just love stunts. I love the choices. Monsters have stunts. Monsters have preferred stunts that they will tend to do more often so that a GM does not need to make big choices about that. You just do this one or this one. Someone mentioned Lairs. The Book of Lairs just came out, which gives like these deep, like, go investigate a thieves guild or the night market. I think is that one that came. Yeah, a whole bunch of different options there. There are lair specific stunts in there that those enemies will use to try and stop you that you will not see coming because this is the only list you know. Blue Rose has a bunch of other ones as well. Blue Rose is a very, very cool game that I just, gosh darn it, need to play so bad. But it has a lot of relationship stunts and things like that in there, which is cool. Many monsters have unique stunts as well, for sure. It isn't just this list. And it's a cool way to, I love designing monsters, so it's a cool way to design those abilities and just be like, what's a good, like, 4th ed. D&D had very, like, tactical miniature stuff, and some of the monsters would have an ability that was so good that you had to, like, recharge it. So on their turn, you would roll a d6, and if you got a 6, oh, it's back. Now I can breathe fire again or something. But in this one, you're hoping to stunt, and hoping to stunt well enough to get that sort of ridiculous bonus. It is a scary thing when a monster successfully hits you and rolls a very high stunt die, because who the heck knows what's about to happen to you. It's fun. It really, really means that combat, action, the adventure, the part of this game that I love so much is such like a frenetic thing. Like, things are constantly chaotic, constantly different, and can make for some very compelling narratives in those moments. Which is a skill that some role-playing games struggle to build up, I think, is the action, the wonder in the moment, right? A combat in, like, a Pathfinder game can go on for an hour, and is that entire combat interesting, or am I just, like, running down some hit points? Here, the stunt thing is so much more dynamic and will make you feel so much better than even just rolling a critical hit. Like, it's nothing. It's nothing compared to a powerful stunt moment. All right, I'm going to check the chat real quick. I have run out of stuff to say, I believe, on the Fantasy Age role-playing game. If you are interested, I am, like I said, hoping to run a couple playtests. I just jumped into the Green Ronin Discord recently, which is a place where you can find out more about all of the Age products. and hopefully learn more about their system in all of these different books. Let's see. And also I'll be running it on Saving Throw. You can also check out that live play that I did a little while back with Chris Pramus, which, oh my gosh, he also teaches us the game. The whole point of that live play was to learn how to play the game as we were playing the game. And I cheated and I learned how to play before we started, but that's totally fine. Yes, running a game on Twitch would be a lot of fun. I can't run this adventure because I have to save it for a month. But I would run it privately because I need to test out that I'm not going to just destroy everyone. It's going to be fun. Yeah. It is a great community on the Green Ronin Discord. Do check that out. I'm very excited. Thank you. Gosh, thank you all so much for joining in, listening to me just ramble about the Fantasy Age role-playing game. If you have any questions at all about this game, or if you want to check it out more, I believe the PDF, again, is still free for the end of today. The end of the month is what they were talking about. So check that out. Get yourself a copy. It is really, really fun. Yeah, please make a character. Let me know. I think that when I played most recently, we started at level 3 because we were only planning to do a one-shot. That allows you to have a little bit more choice in, making your rogues a little different, for example, or your mages. You can totally do that. At the same time, running a campaign is exactly what I want to do with this game. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with everybody. And how you decide to approach this game and these characters. I'm really excited to see more adventures come out for this as well. There are some short ones available on the Green Ronin website. What are the Fantasy Age Encounters, I believe? I'm blanking on what they're called at the moment. But they're fun. They're often very short. They can allow you to start, building into a campaign. There was one that I saw recently about you're helping a sheriff with like a trial that is bad. And I love that idea a lot. So, like I said, roll randomly, have fun, make your characters interesting, make them just play this game. Just play this game. Let's all play this game. Any other questions in the chat? Freeport is coming. That is a good note. The Freeport system the Freeport setting is a famous, it's been around for 20 years. I have no idea. Forever, as far as I know. Fantastic game. Setting this huge city with all sorts of intrigue and wonder going on, and it makes a place that is perfect for the cinematic nature of the Fantasy Age game. So I recommend checking that out absolutely when it gets here, or grabbing, there's been a couple copies over the last 20 years, so you could check out one of those as well, just to give you some of the setting information that you might want to build your world. All right, sounds like everyone's pretty good. Go out here, make characters, get in touch with me. You can let's see, you can find my stuff again. You can follow me on Twitter at @rmelina and send me some notes there if you want to, or we'll talk on the Green Ronin Discord and start making some of these adventures happen. I'm so excited about this, and I'm so happy that you are all here for this ridiculous look into one of my favorite role-playing settings or games in the world. Anyway, have a good rest of your night. Take care. Thanks for stopping by, and hope to talk to you all soon. Bye.